All right, well, it's 12:03, so we'll get started. My name is Amy Bonis, and I would also like to introduce our co-host today, MaryLou Dingman, who is an amazing realtor. I've been working with her for 2 decades. I love her. I will give you a little bit more bio about her in just a second. Today, we're going to be talking about Franklin County, the growth potential in Franklin County, Lewisburg, Lake Royale, and Lake Royale is actually part of Lewisburg. We're going to talk a little bit about the history, the growth things that are happening, the pros and the cons, and just looking at where rents have gone in the last 10 years. It's pretty amazing graph here, right? You can see the rent growth. And I think you're probably going to see some evening off of this over the next few years, I hope. I hope shelter costs can remain a little bit constant. And what's so amazing about this is, when you're buying an investment property, people often think that the only way that they can make money is based on the price of the house. And that's really not true. You can typically make money when you buy investment properties different ways, right? I've been in the mortgage industry 30 years. Mary Lou's been in real estate over 20 years. And sometimes people buy properties and they fix them up, and the repairs they may do on the property may be $25,000, but it increases the value of that property $50,000. That's called a value add. And some people do that. Like, in fact, some people specialize on buying properties and doing that. Some people do that and then they flip it. Okay. Which is a little bit harder to make money on investment properties right now doing flipping, but I mentioned that because it exists. And then, of course, something that we don't really consider very much is every single month when you have an investment property, or any property for that matter, you're paying down principal on your loan, which is paying down the loan amount. And so you're building equity by paying down your loan amount. Of course, you have tax benefits when you buy a house. And so those are part of, a reason why people buy properties. But when you have an investment property, you even get more of a tax break because you can literally write off property management, insurance, maintenance, mileage, a whole bunch of stuff. Eventually, you'll make money in cash flow. I don't think that you're going to make much money in cash flow on investment properties right now. I think you have to look at trying to buy them right and then hold them. So, the saying of, don't wait to buy real estate, buy real estate and wait, is absolutely correct, right? You don't want to wait to buy, because when interest rates drop, a little bit even, what's going to happen is that a whole bunch of people are going to come out of the woodwork to buy homes, and they're going to force the price of the homes up because there's going to be little bidding wars. Okay, so about our event speaker today, MaryLou Dingman. She is very used to talking with Zoom, training people on Zoom. She works for a very good company. You might have heard of it, called Locker Room. She helps real estate agents. She helps real estate brokers build their business. She's been a full-time coach for the last 6 or 7 years, and she practices real estate specifically with buyers and sellers around where she lives in Lake Royale. And Mary Lou, I'm going to have you sort of take over and let you talk a little bit about this slide.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I was on a webinar with NCAR, with the North Carolina Association of Realtors, a couple of years ago, and or maybe it was last year, and the presenter talked about Franklin County being one of the fastest growing counties in North Carolina. And I'm like, really? I'm like, that's fascinating. But now that I'm seeing it firsthand, it makes the most tangible difference. Do you mind sharing that again?
Of
The
course.
Yeah. Just some of the stats. So Franklin County is one of the fastest growing counties. And I think, Kelsey, you live in Franklinton, I think is what you said.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, I'm telling you, these spots right here, these are the hot spots, not only in Franklin County, but some of the hot spots now in North Carolina, right? Because let's face it, I mean, I love Raleigh. I was a Raleigh girl until I moved out to Lake Royale full time. It's a tough market for investments in Raleigh just because the prices have risen so much. Not impossible, but I tell you, so much of the growth and everything is coming out this way. And I mean, just look at what's happening in Franklin County as far as impact of fastest growing towns, y'all. I mean, Franklin County is where it's at right now. I mean, definitely. So, just keep that in mind, that growth is coming this way to Franklin County. So Franklin County, you can go ahead and move the slide now. Franklin County, it was a sleepy little, rural town. There's still a lot of farms out here. There's still a lot of agriculture. But one thing that I didn't know, if you can go, I'm a like I keep my presentation up if you don't mind.
Sure.
Are you all right with that? Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, so it was home to the oldest junior college in the United States, which I never knew that Lewisburg College um was is like the oldest junior college in the country. I had no idea until I started doing some of this research. So I think that's pretty fascinating. So we're pretty close to, even though we're 45 minutes outside of the Triangle, we're pretty close to the Virginia border, really close to I-95. Kind of a nice location to get just about anywhere where you need to go, probably 30 to 45 minutes from I-95. We are listed, as I said, as one of the fastest growing places in the country. So there is a lot of growth and change that is definitely happening here in Franklin County. All right, now you can go to the next slide, and thank you. All right, so Lewisburg Falls, we're going to be talking about that. So that's a huge, like, mixed use development that is going to be in the town of Lewisburg. The North Executive Triangle Airport. Who on here knew that there is an executive airport that caters to small private jets in the Triangle outside of, or in the Triangle area outside of RDU? Who knew that? If you did, give me a thumbs up.
I didn't.
Yeah, most people don't know that. Well, it's the truth. Kelsey knew about it, of course, because she lives in Franklinton.
My husband is a small engine pilot too, so that's how I knew.
Oh my God. Well, I used to fly around Kelsey. I did traffic reports. I used to be in radio. So I used to fly around in a 172 Cessna and do traffic reports. That was a long time ago. So yeah, I have a radio background. So but anyway, so that airport is becoming, it's a little off the beaten path. And I think when we talk about the movie studio, which I'll go ahead and talk about now, Spring Hope is actually in Nash County. Who has heard that there is a major movie studio that is taking shape in Spring Hope, Nash County, North Carolina? Who knew about that already? If you did, give me a thumbs up. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of people are not aware of this. That's why it's so awesome that Amy does these, to bring in somebody who is in the know and an expert in that particular area, so that you can learn about the investment opportunities, right? So what I imagine happening in the future is that, hey, if there are stars that are going to be shooting movies, I mean, it's probably easier and less hassle for them to fly into the airport in Franklin County rather than flying into RDU and then having a limo or whatever bring them out here. Just fly, so they're only going to be 30 minutes away from where they need to be in Spring Hope. And I would say that, you know, Franklin County is going to be great, but Franklin and Nash County butt right up against each other, right? So I think that the opportunities for investment, short-term rentals and investment properties are going to be huge in Franklin County and in Nash County, especially right on the Franklin-Nash County line. By the way, part of Lake Royale, and I'll get to that in a, you're good. I'm jumping all over the place because I get excited when I start talking. All right, let's talk about Lewisburg Falls first, okay? So Lewisburg Falls is going to be a mixed use development that is going to should start in Q3, but you know what? Everything always goes behind. So Q3, Q4, Q1 of next year, I would really start to see this taking shape. I will tell you, there are new construction neighborhoods that are popping up all the time now in Franklin County. D.R. Horton has put a huge neighborhood on Highway 98, probably about 15 to 20 minutes from the lake where I live. So bigger national builders are starting to take notice, because what happens is land is cheaper in the areas that are outside, right? So in those densely populated areas like Wake County, and even Wake Forest at this point, you know, is becoming pretty dense. That's why the growth always pushes outward, right? Mm-hmm. And so Lewisburg Falls is going to be this great community that is going to be some residential, some commercial, and it will definitely be a really big draw for Lewisburg. So those kind of things end up, yes, Amy, and I'll get to you in a second. So those kind of things end up drawing other activity to an area. So what you got? What's your question?
Who are the builders in here? Do you have any idea yet? Okay.
I don't. Okay. I don't. And when that comes out, but you know what? I will feed you. I will make sure that you have the information so that you can push that out to your Perfect. People who are investors as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes. Yes. So the movie studio in Spring Hope is called Ascent Studios. So those of you who didn't give a thumbs up that you knew anything about it, I would go. I mean, it's been all over RAL. They have their own website. It's super cool to look at, but they're going to be really doing some great things there. So there's going to be jobs coming to the area. There's going to be, like I said, opportunities, I believe, for, you know, short-term rentals, some longer-term rentals, just as a way to, you know, handle all of that business that's going to be coming due to that studio. And by the way, like, I'm at the lake, if that 15 minutes from Spring Hope and Nash County. So I'm right on the Franklin-Nash County border. Yeah, so Lewisburg, you know, once again, at Louisburg. So imagine, it was Lewisburg at first, it was Lewis, but now, you know, there's some French influence, you know, King Louis, and you know, there's definitely, as I said, a lot of textiles, farming, lots of farming and agriculture in this area. So definitely up and coming. I pulled this map off of MLS, right? So you can get a big picture of where it is. So if you see where Wake Forest is, that's really Franklin County. That's the Franklin County border, right? And 401, by the way, if you haven't been out here, 401 has pretty much been widened and improved all the way out to Highway 98 to get you to the lake. If you look in the lower corner there, see, that's Lake Royale. See that little tiny blip right there? That is Lake Royale. Now, what I'm going to tell you, fun fact, we are actually closest to Bunn which is a very small town, which was one of the fastest growing towns. But we are listed at Lake Royale. Our city is listed as Lewisburg, North Carolina, because we are the largest incorporated area in all of Franklin County. And they had to give us a Lewisburg mailing address because the post office in Bunn could not handle the volume of mail that comes to the lake. Yeah. So Lewisburg was a little bigger and a little beefier. So that's why we are really in the town of Bunn, but our mailing address is Lewisburg.
So how does that affect your taxes being unincorporated?
It's, our tax rates, and I should know them off the top of my head, and I don't. Sorry for that now, but we do have HOA dues or POA dues, which I'll talk about in the neighborhood and the amenities and what we pay here. All right, so here's pros and cons of Lewisburg. So I've said that it's one of the fastest growing counties with a very easy commute. You do have that cost of living, which living outside of Raleigh or even Wake Forest is much lower. Affordability, prices are significantly lower out here. I mean, y'all are probably going to be surprised when you see some of the listings that we show. You do get larger lots, not everywhere, but typically the further out you go, the bigger the lots are going to be. Now, there's not as much shopping. There's more 2-lane roads. You're going to get stuck behind tractors. I'll tell you that much. It happens to me every day. But because of the growth out here, you're also going to get behind bulldozers and dump trucks and, construction related areas. So, as I said, they're making more improvements. 401 is like a straight shot now. It is very nice. Pretty much 2-lane road or 4-lane highway all the way up to the Lewisburg area. So it's or close to it. So I live in particular in Lake Royale. So Lake Royale is a private gated community. Now, that sounds really hot and sexy, right? But the price points in here are anything from $12,000 lots that campers are on to $1 million homes. Okay. It is a man-made lake. All the roads in here are named after Native Americans. So Sagamore. So all the roads in here are basically Indian names. So, it is a huge all-encompassing community. It's 345 acres. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, there are probably close to 2,000 residential structures and households in here, but we still have a lot of land left. All right. And multi-use parcels, what that means is a property that has a camper, just a camper, or maybe a cottage, a smaller stick-built cottage, or a camper with a finished room attached to it.
Okay.
Now, you cannot get through the gate at Lake Royale unless you are a guest of somebody, or you are accompanied by a real estate agent. Lo and behold, I happen to work for the brokerage that is just outside the gate, which is Stellar Realty Group, a part of Allen Tate. So, or you can come out with another agent, but hopefully if you would be interested in something out here, you would come see me. And I would ride you around on my golf cart because that's how I like to show property. The only thing, here's what I'm going to tell you about the lake. No short-term rentals. Okay. So you cannot Airbnb properties. You could rehab and flip. You could buy lots and hold, because I'm telling you, lots used to go for $3,000. And now I don't know of any lots that are less than 10 or 12,000. So we have a lot of lots in here. that can easily behold a lot of people. And I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to start buying lots and just sitting on them. You know, my property, I am on the water. I bought my property. Now on the water lots are a total advantage, right? Because there's only so many of those to go around. But I bought my place for $82,000 3 years ago. I could probably sell my place now. I have a camper with a build over. So it's like a tiny home. It's like I'm in a tiny home. I have a carport. I have a shed. I'm on the water. I bought it for 82. I've done a lot of, yes, Madison says those are so cool. I could probably sell my place now for 275 or 300. And I'm not even a stick built home, right? So, but just remember, no short-term rentals. However, those options outside of the lake and in Spring Hope for short-term rentals are probably ideal. For this neighborhood, maybe buying some premium lots and hanging on to them would also be a great tactic. So that would be a good hold strategy. The closer you are to the water, the better. Right, so there is a little aerial map of Lake Royale that you can see. See where we are in Bunn? See where Bunn is to the left of it? And yes, we do have a grocery store, just so everybody knows. We actually also have one of the Triangle's most talked about restaurants called Rustic Roots. Has anybody on here, give me a thumbs up if you've heard of Rustic Roots? Anybody, or put it in the chat if you have. Amy, have you heard of it yet? Madison has, Kelsey has, yep. It is a farm to table restaurant that is getting recognition in Southern Living, in Our State magazine. It is, they source everything from the local farmers, and it's really, really good. Everything. Yeah. Yeah. I'm actually very good friends with the owners. I'm very fortunate. For my birthday, they opened it up on a night they're not open, and we had my birthday party there, so it was fun. Yeah, so y'all, this was in the neighborhood. This was in Deer Cross Drive. This is a good sample of, now, even though the address in MLS is Lewisburg, this is in Lake Royale. Okay, so this is directly in the lake, because remember, our mailing address in the lake is Lewisburg, right? This was $299.9. It was on the market for 3 days, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 0.68 acres. All right. You know,
and
you might.
That was like last week. That was on the market,
Yes.
and then it's
Yeah.
like 3 weeks, right?
I sent this home to be put in the presentation, and then I was pulling it up again. I'm like, oh, it's already under contract. So I want to mention this too. There are, you know what else would be good is buying, like, land in here would be good, or buying some of the properties when they come up on the actual water, and then bring your family out here and have a weekend place. If you decide to sell it 5 or 6 years from now, your price is going to be definitely increased and improved. Makes sense? All right, here's the pros and cons of the lake. I told you we are we're the largest. We're like our own little city. We have our own newspaper. We have our own police department. We have a clubhouse. We have a pavilion. We have amenities. We have boat ramps, and we have a gate that is staffed 24/7. Right? We have all different styles of architecture out here. This is not a cookie cutter neighborhood. Very far from that. I take pictures all the time of foxes and raccoons and deer and possums. I have some feral cats that I've had fixed and shots, and yeah, I put the cat food outside and all the critters come and eat it. You're going to find stuff that's available from $1 million down to $250. Limited food options inside the community, but we also have a golf course side, by the way. there is a restaurant that's coming into the golf course side. We had a restaurant in the clubhouse side on the lake side, but it closed during the pandemic, and so we're going to get another food option in there. So that is coming very soon, where there's going to be restaurant options inside the community.
That's nice.
Yeah. All right, go ahead. And all right, here is what a house on the water looks like. So I just figured you might want to see this. So this is what you get on the water. This one, $499.9. I haven't checked today to see if this one is under contract, but it might be, but a great little listing. All right, go ahead and go to the next one. This is a $1.1 million home. This is also on the water, right? So this is what $1 million gets you inside the lake. All right. And let's talk about what gets your offer accepted. All right. Yes, pre-approval. Y'all, that is so key. Get all your documentation turned in, because when you have a pre-approval letter, essentially that puts you in the same ballgame as a cash buyer, right? Because even if a cash buyer comes with cash, a loan is pretty much the same thing. The lender wires the money to the closing attorney, so it's no different, right? So it makes you pretty much a cash buyer when you're pre-approved. Oh, are you supposed to be saying this or me?
No, you're supposed to be saying it. I'll talk after this. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Yeah, here are the things that gets your offer accepted. You want strong due diligence. Now, we're seeing a change in that now. It doesn't have to be as strong as it was, right? And you want a clean offer. All right. And by the way, even because yes, I specialize in the lake, but I can help you in any of the surrounding areas as well, right? Or I can help you. I mean, I will sell. I still work in the Triangle area in Raleigh proper and Wake Forest and Fuquay or whatever. So I will do all that. My goal is just to bring and do more business out in this area. So you want your offers to be clean, and you want to be working with a great lender like Amy, who is proactive and, puts great packages together so that it's really a no-brainer for the seller and for the listing agent that she knows what she's doing, right? Close to or at list price. And I would say, obviously, and a good agent is going to run CMAs on the property. And, yes, and it's a different story if you're in a multiple offer situation, but a good agent should be able to help you figure out what the offer strategy should be based on the information, the data that's there for what's been under contract, how long it's been under contract, and things like that. So, yes, a pre-approval. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, yeah, so we even talked about that. A pre-approval is a must. Go ahead, Amy.
So when you get pre-approved, everybody, what we're going to do is we are going to look at your documents. We're going to ask you for your W-2s, your pay stubs, your bank statements. In order to approve you, we do have to pull your credit. We can't give you a loan without pulling your credit. We usually start with one score, and then once we submit it to underwriting, and we make sure that we have all three scores so that we can get an approval for you. And then we'll talk about different strategies, whether you should put down this much money or this much money, or get down payment assistance from the state, which we'll talk about in a second, because the state of North Carolina has some awesome incentives for people to buy homes for their primary residences. MaryLou, let me just ask you a question. I know some people are saying, well, I'll just wait to buy real estate. What is your professional opinion, being in the business over 2 decades, with where prices are going to go in the next year or two?
Well, that's a really good question, because interest rate and prices are two very different things. While interest rates were super low, historically low, the balance that we saw in what people were paying over asking pretty much in a lot of cases negated those
Right,
interest
right,
rates,
right,
right?
right.
And so what's going to happen is, um, you know, I don't think we're going to see, it's still a seller's market. We
Right.
still do not have enough inventory. So what that means is you're still going to have to go in pretty strong to compete, right? Well, the less number of buyers that you're competing with, the better off you are. And when interest rates are a little higher, remember that interest rate doesn't have to be forever.
Right.
So I think what you would find is don't just rely on interest rates, because once they go down, because we're still in a seller's market, who knows how long it's going to take before that turns around, right? And so if your goal is to buy an investment property or to buy a home that you are going to live in, start looking now, and look now, because nobody has a crystal ball. We're not going to know what's going to happen a year or two from now, but I guarantee you, interest rates are always going to go like this, but there are other factors to consider, and that's what kind of market we're in and where the pricing is.
I think you're absolutely right, because when interest rates go down, there's more people that are out looking because they're sort of a little bit naive that they think it's a better time to buy when interest rates are lower. But really, money is made when there is a little bit of a correction. And right now, my my experience says we're in a little bit of a correction because you have people that maybe can't afford to buy right now because the payments are a little bit higher. But let's look at this chart here for a second. It's really interesting. The black little columns in here are all of the recessions that we've had since the 70s. And if you notice in this chart, what's so interesting about it is that home prices do not go down in a recession, except for one, this recession here in 2008, which was very different than the recession that we're in right now and very different than any other recession. And here's why. Because the inventory on the market was ridiculously high. There was over 4 million homes on the market in 2008. And so that was a buyer's market. Okay, we are, as MaryLou mentioned, in a seller's market. There's only 1 million homes on the market. And the real fact is that's not even the case, because out of those million homes, about 40% of them are already under contract. So there's what MaryLou said is exactly right. It's a supply and demand issue. There is not enough supply for the demand. There are more people moving here than there are homes. There is not enough inventory here in North Carolina. And so there is no housing bubble here. This will continue to rise prices here because of the supply and the demand. It's just like what you learned in high school, supply and demand. Now,
Yep.
MaryLou has mentioned to you guys, maybe you would be interested in buying a lot. Remember, it's really, really, really difficult to finance land. A lot of people buy their lots by taking like an equity line or a cash out refinance on their house. A lot of customers, believe it or not, own their homes free and clear. The cheapest way that you can borrow money is on your primary residence. Your primary residence has the best interest rate, the best lowest closing costs. And so when you borrow money on your primary residence and you take the money out of that house, I don't want to take a mortgage on my primary residence. Why? It's a cheaper mortgage than it is on an investment property. If you have equity in your primary residence, you can fund the down payment from the equity, or you can, in some cases, I have literally some clients that are able to actually finance the whole house by taking cash out of their primary residences. So it's a lot cheaper rate. So just a heads up on that. That's called equity repositioning. As MaryLou said before, you are not marrying the interest rate. You are simply dating the rate. You are marrying the purchase price on the house. And we have to remember that. It's really important that you look at buying, this year, not in 2 years' time, because that same price on that house will be higher. Another thing which we're not going to talk about in detail today, but I just put out there for you, is if you are buying investment property, you have to consider, will you self-manage it? Like my husband manages all of our rentals, or do you want to hire a property manager? Later this year, we will have a webinar on the benefits, like the pros and the cons of property management. If you are a first-time buyer, and even if you are not a first-time buyer, there are down payment assistance programs out there that are offered to the public. These programs are sort of paperwork heavy on the lending side. Typically, lenders get paid less money to do these loans, and that's why a lot of lenders do not have approval with NC Housing to do these loans, and they don't really like doing them because they literally get paid half the money to do them. Okay, so but we do them, we love them. And so if you have a friend that's a first-time buyer, or you are a first-time buyer, or you have a client, please reach out to us, because it's pretty phenomenal to get $15,000 from the state, from North Carolina Housing. You can talk with MaryLou or I to do a free strategy session. So I'm going to be sending this PowerPoint to everybody that's on this call. Please feel free to reach out to either one of us. And we want to thank you guys so much for your time today, and open up the webinar for questions. Just to let you know, we are having this webinar series every Monday. Next week, we are talking about Burlington and Rocky Mount. You can register for it on our website. And I'd like to open the floor up for questions.
I love Brandon Duncan, by the way. Brandon's amazing, y'all. I've known him for years.
Oh, you know Brandon? He's hilarious.
Oh, yeah. I know him very well.
Oh, good. That's really good. What a small world, huh?
Yep, it is.
Well, if you guys don't have any questions, we are going to let you go, because I'd like to start and end on time. MaryLou,
I have a question.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hello. What other cities will y'all guys be talking about, other than, you say next week you're doing Rocky Mountain, something else?
Yeah, we have a whole list on our website of all the speakers, and all these workshops that we're doing will be taped, and they will be online. I'll be sending a copy of this recorded version to you, MaryLou, for you to pass on, but they will also be on our website. So you can see a whole list. And thank you, Madison. And in the chat, Madison said it's Burlington, Rocky Mount, and Durham that he's going to be talking about next week.
Okay, cool.
Okay, you can register for all of them online if you want, or one of them or two of them. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. MaryLou, thank you.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye, bro.
Thank you.
Bye, Jason.
Thanks for being here.
Bye, Kelsey. You take care, everybody.
Bye.
Amy. Bye, Amy. Bye. Thank you.
MaryLou.
Yeah.
I did have a quick question. I'm sorry. This is Shalonda. For homes out in the area in Lake Royale, do you have to have flood insurance?
That's a good question, Shalonda.
That is a really good question. I am not required on mine to, but I know they keep redrawing the FEMA maps, and there might be a few that you do, but overall in the neighborhood, I don't think so. But thank you for reminding me that I need to look that up myself.
Madison, do you remember if you had to close with flood insurance? I can't hear you. You said you did not have flood insurance?
We didn't close with any flood insurance. We're not directly on the water. I'm not familiar with how far the watershed goes in.
Yeah,
but that is definitely a good question.
Like you said, MaryLou, based on the lot.
So Shalonda, I will tell you this. So I live directly on the water. I'm on a flat lot, and we have had some pretty doozies of storms. since I've owned this lot, and the water has never come up more than halfway up my boat ramp. So it's never flooded my yard. But I'm so glad you asked that question, because you know what? There's things that I forget about sometimes as an agent, and I don't know everything. So thank you for reminding me. But like I said, I know I wasn't required to have flood insurance, and I've never, me personally, I haven't felt the need that I have to have it.
Okay.
Because I feel pretty safe where I am on my lot.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you
welcome.
for the question, Shalana. Everybody, take care. Have a good week, and hopefully we'll see you next week. MaryLou, great job.
Well, thank you.
Bye.
All right, y'all.
Bye, everybody.